Welcome to Legal Lines. My name is Tom O'Shea, the host of the program. Today my guest is Leigh Dalton. Leigh is an attorney, and she's also the first director of the York County Truancy Prevention Initiative. Today we will be talking about truancy prevention. That's a little different than most of our topics, and I want to point out that the York County Bar Foundation, which is the charitable arm of the Bar Association, is helping to sponsor a truancy initiative, a truancy prevention initiative, I need to point out, because truancy is a leading problem to many legal problems that develop in the future, and the Bar Foundation, along with the Truancy Prevention Initiative, is trying to stop problems with truancy. And Leigh, I'm going to turn over most of the program to you.
Sure.
As the director of the Truancy Prevention Initiative. And first, I'd like to give a few plugs. There are various organizations that help sponsor the Truancy Prevention Initiative. Can you tell us who they are?
Sure. Well, of course, as you mentioned, it's the York County Bar Foundation. There's also the Women's Giving Circle, Don Leigh Foundation, and the Raymar Trust.
Okay. And each of those groups has been instrumental in providing funding for the Truancy Prevention Initiative.
Yes, as well as the fact that the Bar Foundation has provided office space.
Okay.
And so that's where I'm
located. That's
located.
another plug for the Bar Foundation.
Yes.
But that is true. Your office is at the Bar Foundation Center, which is on East Market Street in downtown York.
Correct.
And that's where we can find your office, and if anybody's contacting you, that's
exactly
where you have your space.
Yes.
Through the Bar Center.
Yes.
And exactly, can you give us some of the background into the Truancy Prevention Initiative?
Sure. The Truancy Prevention Initiative was started by Judge John Euler, a juvenile judge, who noticed that a lot of the youth he was seeing, about 90 to 95% of the youth he was seeing, were habitual truants. And so he decided to look at the problem at the beginning of the problem rather than see the youth towards the end of the problem, and like you said, sort of on the cusp of getting into more intense legal issues and legal problems. So he got together a group of stakeholders, and that includes not only juvenile judges, but juvenile probation, magisterial district judges, the school districts, teachers, parents, students, children and youth, and other agencies and service providers throughout the county to discuss how we could come up as a county with a more consistent response and to work together to really solve the problems earlier in the child's lives, in the students' lives, so that they weren't ending up in front of juvenile court, in front of the judges.
And when you say earlier in the child's lives, one of the things that I found interesting is I always think of truants as being high school students, teenagers who get bored and for whatever reason get in trouble and don't go to high school, but truancy is a problem at all grade level, am I correct?
Yes, truancy is a problem at all grade levels. In the elementary years, it tends to fall on the parents' shoulders. It's usually a lot of the parents' stress, whether it's having too many jobs and maybe the child needs to stay at home and watch some of the younger students. Sometimes the parents may not have enough money to pay for uniforms, and it's been the third or fourth day in a row and they're not going to go to school with a dirty uniform or dirty clothes, whether it's a uniform or not. And so on the elementary level, a lot of the times it's the parents. It's a lot of the stress that the parents can experience that causes the student to not go to school. And another one is illness. A lot of it's asthma, chronic asthma, and other illnesses, whether there's medical assistance or not, that might cause the child to stay at home and the parent to keep the child at home. And then what happens is that behavior can sometimes become entrenched, and if a child is missing a lot of school, he or she will tend to fall below in their grade level. And if they're not reading by third grade, there's a new Pew study that reiterates a whole slew of studies that have been issued in the past decade or so, that if a child is not on grade level by third grade, he or she will find it much more difficult to get on grade level and will therefore probably be trying to catch up and may become unattached from school and may be bored in class, may get in trouble, may get suspended. And then the more that he or she is suspended, the less attached, the less invested they are. And then you'll see those children in high school not going to school, and yeah, they may be getting up in the morning and choosing to not go to school, but it is very likely that there's something that happened earlier in their life in elementary or middle school that really caused them to decide that school wasn't the place for them to be.
And then that leads to the overall truancy problem. Once they're in high school and they're able to sort of get to school by themselves, they have a history of not going, or they're just frustrated with school because they're not learning the way the other students are learning.
Exactly, and if they're not sure what's going on, they might be causing trouble, and then their teachers might get upset with them, and they might feel that their teachers don't support them, and the teachers might feel that the student isn't supporting them, isn't supporting the classroom environment, isn't a team player, and so it can be a lot of miscommunication as to what's really going on. People tend to blame each other, and no one's maybe really looking at the problem that started earlier on. And something to point out is that the more school that a child misses, the more likely they are to just drop out. Around 9th grade is usually the main year.
And that's what I heard. The number one indication for a dropout is truancy.
Right.
If they're going to predict which students will drop out of high school, it's students that have had a long history of truancy.
Right. And I should mention here, actually the United Way of York and York Counts wrote a Stay in School initiative report that focuses on dropout, but it also mentions the Truancy Prevention Initiative for York County as one of the main focuses to help prevent dropout is to focus on preventing truancy because truancy and dropout tend to cause an effect.
Okay, so now we've certainly identified the problem.
Yes.
And now your job is to work on a solution.
Yes.
Now you're working with this group, the Truancy Initiative group, the Truancy Prevention.
Yeah,
I always
we were gonna
simplify it and just say Truancy Initiative, but obviously it's the Truancy Prevention Initiative.
That's what we're trying to
I'm
initiate.
sorry about that.